Take your damn hand off her! The voice cracked like a whip across the hallway, slicing through the noise of lockers, chatter, and footfalls. Silence fell. Heads turned. Alongside Emily's growing panic was the desperation in her eyes, searching for help, for kindness, for anyone who cared. But all she found was indifference, cold, suffocating indifference. Then suddenly, a voice rang out like a lifeline, a rescuer breaking through the silence. In that very moment, everything changed. Yet it also revealed something deeper, that somewhere within us all, there is compassion. If you believe that too, take action. Leave a like or drop a meaningful message in the comments below to let us know you're still with us, following this raw, real-life story. In the middle of the crowd, a white girl with cascading blonde curls stood pinned against a locker, her tight red crop top slightly torn at the shoulder, her short denim skirt wrinkled from the scuffle. Her chest rose and fell rapidly as she tried to shove away the hand groping at her waist. Logan Pierce, tall, built like a fullback, cocky as sin, smirked, his fingers still on her hip. "Relax, babe," he drawled. "You dropped your phone. Just helping." The girl's palm cracked against his cheek. The sound echoed. He didn't flinch. His grin widened. "You shouldn't have done that." He grabbed her wrist. She struggled, pushing him, but he twisted her arm sharply, forcing her to stumble. Her back hit the locker with a metallic thud. A few students laughed nervously. Most just watched, frozen. Then came the voice again, steady this time, and close. "I said, take your hand off her." Logan turned. Zaria Bennett was already halfway down the hallway, hips swaying with power, eyes locked on his. She wore high-waisted black leggings and a cropped army green hoodie, her toned stomach exposed beneath the hem. Her hair was pulled back into a curly puff, large gold hoops swinging from her ears. She looked like she'd just walked off a boxing poster and had every intention of stepping into the ring. Logan scoffed. "Oh, this one again. What's with you ghetto types always looking for a fight?" Zaria didn't blink. "And what's with you, small d?" "Zaria," the blonde girl interrupted, her voice shaking. Zaria didn't take her eyes off Logan. "You good, Emily?" Emily nodded, brushing her skirt down, cheeks flushed but defiant. "I'm fine now." "Then let's go." Zaria stepped between them, shoulder brushing Logan's chest, deliberately, a warning, not a challenge. She took Emily's hand and led her away without looking back, but Logan called after them. "You're going to regret this, hood rat." Zaria paused mid-step, slowly turned her head. Her voice dropped to a low, razor-edged murmur. "Number, you're going to regret laying a hand on the wrong girl." The hallway stayed dead quiet as she and Emily disappeared down the corridor. A moment later, voices erupted behind them, half whispers, half disbelief. That night, at a weathered kitchen table beneath flickering yellow light, Zaria sat barefoot in her sports bra and joggers, sipping iced tea. Her grandmother moved slowly between stove and sink, her silver hair tied back, her movements deliberate like a fighter saving strength. "Trouble?" the old woman asked without turning. Zaria exhaled through her nose. "He tried to touch Emily. And I didn't hit him." Her grandmother nodded, placing a plate of cornbread on the table. "That's good. But I wanted to. That's honest." Zaria bit into the bread, jaw tight. He's used to people letting him win. Then it's time someone made him lose. They sat in silence for a beat. Outside, cicadas buzzed in the thick Georgia dusk. Her grandmother's voice came low and even. "You gonna stay quiet?" Zaria looked out the window, the orange sky bleeding into shadow. "Not anymore." Something had shifted in her. Not rage, not revenge, just a quiet knowing. That silence was no longer a shield. It was time to speak with action. By the time the morning bell rang at Brookline High, everyone had heard. Not just about Logan grabbing Emily Quinn's hip in the hallway, but about how Zaria Bennett, the tall black girl with the crop hoodie and attitude, had stepped in and walked him down with nothing but words and a look that could split concrete. The rumors twisted fast. Some said Zaria punched him in the throat. Others claimed she called her gang cousins to settle the score. But the truth? The truth had a quieter echo, and it settled deep in the bones of those who saw what actually happened. In homeroom, Emily sat stiffly beside the window, her long legs crossed, her makeup minimal for the first time since transferring. Her torn crop top had been replaced by a black turtleneck and jeans. Her usual bounce was gone. Every time someone whispered her name, her fingers flinched. Zaria entered late, earbuds in, hoodie up. She said nothing as she passed Logan's crew. Bryce muttered something under his breath. Zaria didn't stop. She didn't need to, because something had shifted in the school overnight. People watched her now, but not like before, not with suspicion, with caution, with interest, as if they were finally trying to figure her out. At lunch, Emily sat alone at their usual spot under the stairs. She poked at a Caesar salad with a plastic fork, barely eating. Zaria arrived a few minutes later, tray in hand, bottle of Gatorade wedged between fingers. She dropped into the seat across from her. "You eat yet?" she asked. Emily shook her head. "Not hungry." "You should eat, especially after what happened." Emily glanced around. "They're all staring." "Let them." Zaria popped open her Gatorade, took a sip. They stared before. Difference is now they know not to touch. Emily's voice was soft, unsure. "Why did you help me?" Zaria looked at her. "Why wouldn't I?" "Because no one else did." Zaria tilted her head. "I don't play by everyone else's rules. Never have." There was a long pause. Then Emily whispered, "He won't stop." Zaria leaned forward. "Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance." Just then, Logan passed by with his tray, flanked by Bryce and Colton. He stopped at their table, lips curled in a half-smile. "Well, if it ain't the freak, and her bodyguard." Zaria didn't move. "Say that again," Logan laughed. "Why? So you can get expelled for swinging?" "I don't need to swing," Zaria replied calmly. "You're doing a great job digging your own grave with your mouth." "Keep talking," Logan hissed. "You'll find out just how deep I can dig." "Yeah," Zaria smirked. "You trying to scare me in front of your boys? Or is this how you cope with the fact that you're not in control anymore?" Bryce leaned in. "You've got a smart mouth. You've got small ears and still can't listen," Zaria shot back. Students nearby were watching now, phones out. Silence spread like wildfire. Logan's jaw clenched, then without warning, he slammed his tray down on the table, splattering mashed potatoes across Zaria's hoodie and Emily's salad. A few kids gasped. One screamed. Zaria stood slowly, eyes never leaving his. The starch dripped from her chest, her expression unreadable. Logan grinned, satisfied. "Oops." Zaria didn't flinch. Instead, she reached down, picked up a napkin, wiped her hands. Then she looked at Emily. "You good?" Emily, stunned, nodded. Zaria leaned in close to Logan, so close he actually leaned back. Her voice dropped to a near whisper. "I don't need to fight you. You're going to destroy yourself just fine." She turned and walked away. Emily followed. Logan stood frozen, his moment of power already fading. That afternoon, in the girls' locker room, Zaria changed into her gym clothes in silence. A few girls gave her side eyes, but none dared speak. When she stepped out into the gym, Coach Renner called her over. A former Marine turned PE teacher, Renner was tough, fair, and didn't tolerate nonsense. "Bennett," he said gruffly, "you all right?" "I'm fine." "You sure?" "Yes, sir." "That boy's father's the sheriff," he said, voice low. "You stir the pot, and this town will pretend not to see what's floating in it." Zaria held his gaze. Maybe it's time someone made them look. Renner stared for a beat, then gave a small nod. "Fair enough. Let's get to it." The rest of the class blurred. Zaria moved like she always did, in rhythm, with purpose. But something inside her had changed. It wasn't just about Emily anymore. It wasn't even about Logan. It was about something bigger. Something that smelled like fear. Like rot beneath the floorboards of this pretty white school. And for the first time, she didn't just feel like fighting it. She felt ready. The warning came on a Tuesday, slid across Emily's locker in a pink Post-it note. 3 words, scratched in sharp black ink. "Keep your mouth shut." No signature. No mistake. Emily stared at it for a long moment, then peeled it off with shaking fingers and tucked it into her back pocket. By the time she turned, Zaria was already behind her. "You got something to show me?" Emily hesitated, then handed her the note. Zaria read it once, expression hardening. "He's scared," she said simply. "Scared people make sloppy moves. What do? We don't blink." But later that day, Logan didn't look scared. He looked triumphant. Word had spread that the school board had received a complaint, anonymous but specific, about Zaria's aggressive behavior and her ongoing intimidation of fellow students. The accusation, read aloud in the principal's office, painted her as a threat. Too combative, too disruptive, too dangerous. Mr. Harlan, the assistant principal, pulled Zaria aside during 5th period. He spoke in hushed tones, his tie askew, and sweat gathering beneath his collar. "We've received a formal report, Zaria. The board's looking into it." She folded her arms. "Who filed it?" "It was anonymous." "Of course it was. I'm not saying it's true, but with your history, we have to take it seriously." "History?" she repeated, her tone razor sharp. "You mean being transferred because I defended myself?" "That's not how it was reported." Zaria gave him a long, flat stare. "That's not surprising." By the time she left the office, she already knew. This wasn't about notes. It wasn't about cafeteria confrontations. It was about getting her out, quietly, permanently. And Logan? He was behind it. She could feel it in her bones. At lunch, she found Emily at their usual table. "They're trying to bury me," Zaria said. Emily's eyes widened. "Suspension? Worse, expulsion if it sticks." "What do we do?" Zaria's voice was cold and steady. "We give them the one thing they didn't count on, proof." That night, Zaria sat in her bedroom, the hum of the box fan rattling against the window. She scrolled through Emily's texts, the ones she'd forwarded after Logan grabbed her. Then she opened her own folder, photos, voice memos, even a shaky video clip Bryce had once bragged about in gym class. It wasn't a smoking gun, but it was smoke, enough to start a fire. Her grandmother knocked once before entering. "You're quiet tonight," she said. Zaria nodded. "They want me gone." "Then make it harder to erase you. I don't want to just survive this. I want them to remember it." Her grandmother's voice softened. "Then don't go alone." The next day, Zaria and Emily met with Ms. Reeves, the school counselor. A black woman in her 50s, with deep laugh lines and sharp eyes. She'd watched from the sidelines long enough. "I've seen Logan's kind," Reeves said, after they showed her the messages. "Pretty boy, star athlete, father in law enforcement, untouchable until he's not." "Can you help us?" Emily asked. Reeves nodded slowly. "If we play this smart, we need a pattern, multiple reports, witnesses. You two alone won't be enough." Zaria's jaw clenched. "Then we find others." That afternoon, they began quietly gathering names. Students who'd been harassed, pushed, shamed, but never spoke up. Some said no. Some looked away. But one, Marcus, a shy freshman with a chipped tooth, said yes. "He slammed me into a locker last fall," Marcus mumbled. "Said if I told, I'd be wearing braces in a coffin." Zaria met his eyes. "That ends now." They recorded his statement in Ms. Reeves's office. By the end of the week, they had 4 more. Logan didn't know yet, but he would. Because Zaria wasn't just surviving anymore. She was building a case, brick by brick. And when it hit, when the whole rotten structure came crashing down, he wouldn't even see it coming. The trap was simple, set in plain sight, dressed in silence. It started when Emily accidentally dropped her phone near Logan's lunch table and pretended not to notice. Logan, ever the show man, saw it as an opportunity. He picked it up, waved it in the air. "Quinn, you lose something?" Emily turned, her face composed, her steps slow. "Thanks," she said flatly, reaching for the phone. Logan pulled it back. "Not so fast. You want it? Come and ask nice." Laughter rippled from his table. Zaria stood across the cafeteria, leaning against the soda machine, her expression unreadable. Emily looked at Logan for a long second, then turned around. "Keep it." Logan blinked. That wasn't the reaction he expected. "What? No tantrum? No snitching?" Emily stopped mid-step. "Not today." And then the second part of the trap snapped shut. Coach Renner, Ms. Reeves, and the school's Title IX officer stepped into the cafeteria from 3 separate doors. Their eyes locked on Logan. The phone in his hand had been recording the entire interaction. Audio clear, angle steady, a direct violation. Zaria didn't move. She didn't need to. She'd already done her part. 2 days earlier, she and Emily had met with the district superintendent. They presented the testimonies, the screenshots, the threats. But it wasn't until they brought the idea of a staged test, filmed under school authority, that the superintendent leaned forward. "You sure he'll fall for it?" "He always does," Zaria had said. And he did. Back in the cafeteria, Logan stood frozen, still holding the phone. For the first time in months, he looked small. His voice, when it came, cracked. "It was just a joke." Ms. Reeves stepped forward. "Number it was a pattern, and it ends now." The room erupted, not in cheers, not in applause, but in murmurs, in gasps, in realization. The school's golden boy had fallen. As Logan was escorted out, his gaze scanned the crowd for a lifeline. He found none. Emily sat down at a nearby table, her hands shaking slightly. Zaria joined her. "You okay?" "I think so. You were brave." Emily looked at her. "Number I was scared. But you? You made room for me to be brave." That night, the story hit local news. Not just because of Logan's suspension, but because of the way it happened. Students organizing, reporting, speaking up. For a community like Brookline, that wasn't just rare. It was revolutionary. Zaria sat on the back porch with her grandmother, both of them quiet as the stars blinked to life. "You planned it well," her grandmother said. Zaria nodded. "It wasn't about revenge." "No, the older woman agreed. It was about justice. And justice doesn't need to scream. It just needs to land where it hurts. Zaria looked up at the night sky, her voice steady. He thought I was the problem, but I was the consequence. By Friday morning, the air at Brookline High had changed. Logan's table sat empty. His name had been scrubbed from the hallway trophy case. The whispers still swirled, but they'd shifted in tone, from fear to curiosity, from mockery to quiet respect. Zaria walked through the front doors like she always did, shoulders relaxed, head high, hoodie unzipped just enough to show the slogan on her shirt. Power doesn't ask permission. Emily walked beside her, not trailing behind this time, but shoulder to shoulder. She wore jeans and a soft pink sweater, her blonde hair tied in a braid. Her posture was different now. Not defiant, not proud, just steady, balanced. In the hallway, Marcus, the shy freshman, gave Zaria a small nod. A sophomore girl who once cried in the counselor's office waved. It wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic. But something had shifted. In second period, Ms. Reeves called Zaria in. The counselor's office smelled faintly of cinnamon tea and dust. On her desk sat a folder, thick, slightly worn, labeled Reform Program, Peer-Led Initiative. The board reviewed what you and Emily did, Ms. Reeves said, folding her hands. They're not just impressed, they're inspired. Zaria raised an eyebrow. I don't do this for applause. I know, Ms. Reeves replied. That's why it matters. She opened the folder. Inside were draft proposals for a new student-led workshop series, self-advocacy, bystander intervention, emotional defense. They want you to help lead it, not just as a student. As the example, Zaria leaned back in the chair. You think they'll actually listen to someone like me? Ms. Reeves smiled. They already are. That afternoon, the gym was quieter than usual. Coach Renner called Zaria over after class. You ever consider coaching? He asked, tossing her a towel. Not really. You should. Got a knack for command. People listen. People fear me, Zaria said flatly. No, he replied, wiping his neck. They respected what you did. Respect's louder than fear, if you earn it right. As Zaria left the gym, Emily waited outside, backpack slung over one shoulder. You got a minute? She asked. Sure. They walked to the outdoor benches beneath the old oak tree behind the parking lot. Emily sat first, pulling something from her pocket. It was the pink Post-it note, creased, slightly faded. The same one Logan had left as a threat. I kept it, she said. I don't know why. Zaria stared at the note. Because it reminds you of where you were and how far you came. Emily looked up. You still mad it had to go this far? Mad? Number tired? Yeah. But not done. Never done, Zaria answered. There's always another kid walking these halls thinking silence is the safest choice. Emily folded the note in half, then into quarters, then into nothing. She let it fall into the trash nearby. Then we keep showing them it's not. The sun was beginning to set, washing the school's bricks in gold. Zaria watched it for a long moment, then stood. Ready for the meeting? Emily rose too. Yeah, let's go teach 'em something real. And as they walked back inside, two shadows side by side, neither leading, neither following, the silence that once haunted those halls began to sound a little more like change. The first session of the student-led defense workshop was held in the auxiliary gym, a space that once hosted forgotten volleyball matches and parent-teacher bake sales. Now, it buzzed with energy. 32 students showed up that Tuesday afternoon. Some came out of curiosity, others out of quiet desperation. Most had never spoken to Zaria Bennett or Emily Quinn before. By the end of the hour, that would change. Zaria stood at the front in black joggers and a fitted white tee, clipboard in hand. Emily stood beside her in her usual jeans and a soft gray hoodie, hair tied back, eyes alert. Coach Renner observed from the corner, arms crossed but pleased. Ms. Reeves hovered near the entrance, offering calm encouragement to those hesitant to enter. Zaria didn't start with a speech. She started with a question. Raise your hand if you've ever been told to just ignore it. Almost every hand in the room went up. She nodded. Now raise your hand if that worked. The room stayed still. Silence spread like truth. Exactly, Zaria said. So we're not here to ignore. We're here to respond. Smart, safe, and strong. The next 45 minutes unfolded like something between a training session and a conversation. They didn't teach punches. They taught boundaries. They taught how to say no with body language, how to recognize manipulation, how to support someone without making them feel weak. Emily demonstrated how to disengage from an unwanted touch using posture, not force. Zaria taught how to de-escalate a confrontation with tone, timing, and eye contact. No theatrics, no revenge talk, just tools. By the end, 3 students stayed behind to ask for more. One of them, a quiet boy named Jonah, held up his arm, revealing a fresh bruise. Do you think this stuff works on uncles? He asked. Zaria looked him in the eye. You don't have to fight alone. Start here. Let us help. Later that evening, Zaria walked home under the orange glow of fading daylight. The sidewalks of Brookline felt less cold, the air less watchful. At home, her grandmother was waiting with 2 plates of baked chicken and cornbread. How was it? She asked, already knowing the answer. Zaria shrugged, but there was pride in her eyes. Real, needed, loud, in a quiet kind of way. Her grandmother nodded, passing her the sweet tea. Then it's working. Across town, Emily sat at her desk, writing in a notebook that once sat untouched. On the cover, she wrote 3 words in black marker: speak, stay, stand. She smiled to herself, not because it was over, but because it had only just begun. And at Brookline High, for the first time in years, justice wasn't something students whispered about in private. It was something they built, one voice, one story, one bold step at a time.